You're listening to Last Word Radio, where you get your last word.
Welcome to the Fourth Line Podcast, part of the Alberta Podcast Network, powered by ATB. This is April the 23rd, 2018. With you today is myself, Carl, and the always wonderful Joel. If there is any day that we were to use the term always wonderful to something different, today would be that day, would it not, Joel?
Probably. It's just not a great day. I was on edge all day about just playoff games, and then the news in Toronto today is brutal, and so not super excited about that. It's just kind of weird thinking that there's like a huge playoff game and now sports don't matter in Toronto today.
Yeah, absolutely. It's don't like to see that. And the game is in Toronto tonight. Big game 6. And you know, we're here to talk sports. That's what we're going to do today. We're going to try to do that as best we can, even though Joel is, on edge about tonight's game. We will get to that in due time, presumably. Tonight's Game 6. 2 Game 6s tonight, actually. Washington Blue Jackets and Toronto Boston. But first, my Avalanche season is done. Actually, no. But first, let's get ATB their due credit. The ATB, the official bank of the Fourth Line Podcast, want you to know that they support hockey in your community. Even though professional hockey is done in Alberta, they are still big supporters of what is happening in and amongst your communities. Head to atb.com/listens where you can let them know how they can help you, and they can find ways to provide the banking that you need. Now, my team, the Colorado Avalanche, their season wrapped up yesterday. And I said it going into the playoffs that like anything that happened was gravy at this point. Like I'm not sad about how any of it goes down. And it was shockingly accurate. Like I wasn't sad when they lost yesterday in I think what could only be described as embarrassing fashion. Losing 5-0 to the Preds yesterday. And
yeah,
so
I don't know. They should have I expected them to lose 5-0 almost every game, so the fact that they only did it once is pretty good.
Well, I believe they had the lead in every game of the series. Except for the last one. It's hard to have a lead when you lose 5-0.
Yeah.
But in that game, the Preds got up early, and you could just see once that goal got called a goal, it was, you're just kind of like, oh, okay, that's the thing that we're doing. So the Avalanche, I think, tired, ready to have a break. And you play, no, but
that's not good. That can't make you feel good.
I feel like that came out wrong. It's just that game, they put up such a fight throughout the season. I think you just they knew that they weren't coming back to win that series when they went down 2-0 yesterday. And I'm that's fine.
No fight in them.
There was some feistiness in them. Come on, you can't say after what they did to get into the playoffs, playing their third string goalie, Andrew Hammond, playing in net. I think there was plenty of fight in them. They were just aware of the circumstances. They're playing the President's Trophy winner. If you're down 2-0, have to win 2 games, you were aware of the circumstances at hand, and the Preds managed to keep the pedal down, which they hadn't in other games. Preds just kept going the whole game, which made for the most mediocre of third periods ever. Well, that's that happens when the game's at a hand like that.
Yes, but if you're not a playoff team if you are done after 2-0. If you're just it's 2-0, it's over. It's you don't deserve to be in the playoffs. That's a little. I could understand that mentality after 4-0, but 2-0 in the first period.
Maybe that was me projecting my own feelings onto what I was watching, but that was how I felt. And you know what? That's probably, if that is how how others perceived it, definitely you don't deserve to move on if that's how you're going to be. This was a team that last year had literally no fight in them at all. They would get down and not come back. We saw in Game 5 that, 8 minutes left down, they managed to come back, win that game in regulation. I think this team has fight in them. Just in that game yesterday was not there.
So you're hopeful for the future. Didn't Bednar get an extension? Is that how you say his name?
Yeah. So Bednar,
Ryan Bednar,
Jared Bednar, Jared Bednar. Yeah, he got an extra year on his contract, so he's here for 2 more years. And I think looking at this team, I definitely have high expectations for them. Guys, shockingly large amount of rookies on this team this year. Even if like Yost, Comfer, and Kerfoot up front. So like a quarter of our forward were rookies. I'm okay with the fact of how this season went. You got better. You persevered in the fact that Jonathan Bernier was your number 1 for a large portion of the season. Going into next year, I liken it a lot to what, in 2 or 3 weeks or longer when the Leafs are eliminated, to what they need to do in the offseason, which is figure out what to do on defense, bring in some more defensemen, and figure out what to do in net. The Leafs have like a less dire situation. They just need to like pick a backup. That's all they need to do. They just need to figure out who they're going to give money to. The Avs have to go bring someone in. And so it's obviously a little more work and a less easy situation, but I have the hopes and the trust that they'll figure it out. And if they don't, then they don't. But they'll be rolling with Varlamov and whoever is a backup next year. I feel like they need to bring in someone who can challenge him as a number 1, which Bernier somehow managed to do this year. I do not want us to think that he can do it again next year. So, bring in someone, a low risk, short term deal that can challenge.
What do you think about the Preds then? Like, how do you feel about they were like top 3 team going into the playoffs as far as like what people expecting them to win the Stanley Cup? Still there for you? No? Yes?
Yeah. So they were my pick to win the Stanley Cup in my NHL.com bracket, and I still think that they are a favorite for sure. I going up against the Jets in the second round coming up here, I would say that they're favorited simply because of their depth. They can roll. Not to say that the Jets aren't deep, but the Preds can get scoring from so many places. Like the Austin Watson line was able to be a big contributor this series, and they don't have to be this next series on defense. They essentially can roll 6 deep if they want to. Like they can do whatever they want. They can have whatever matchups they want and still have quality matchups the whole way through. So I think from that angle, you can get those matchups. Having home ice, you can get the line matches that you want when you can roll that many lines out there. And so, yeah, the Preds, if Pekka Rinne is the Pekka Rinne that we saw in the wins in this series and not when he got pulled, they'll move on. I think that's what it comes down to for them is he going to be good? And I still think that he will. I think, last week I made some comments about potentially him being tired. I don't think he is. So watching more of him this week, I would not want to face him.
Yeah, I don't think they're as good as people thought they were going into the playoffs.
But is any team as good as we thought they were? Like I look at any of these teams, and maybe the Jets are the only team that I think are like my thought of them has improved, but no one's really impressed me thus far.
Yeah, I think the Jets are just going to trounce them. Like, this is not, like, with all due respect to your Colorado Avalanche, they had way more trouble with the Avalanche than they should have. Like, the Sharks, like, went right through the Ducks. No problem at all. I was not expecting that from them. I was expecting that from the Preds, and they just looked not as good as they should be.
Yeah, definitely a problem that they had to face the Avs in 6 games. Not as good as that should have been. But so you think the Jets roll against the Preds?
Well, the Jets are playing way better. They played a better team in the first round. I would like to be sitting here saying that the Avalanche played up to the Preds, but I think the Preds played down to the Avalanche. And so I think the Preds are in trouble against the Jets because they can't, if they play the way they did against the Avalanche, it's going to be a very quick series.
Yeah, I think so. But I would say that, again, I was going to say that I don't think they'll play down to it, but in the same way that if you can't get up for a game, if you play down to your competition, you're probably not a good playoff team either, right?
Oh no, definitely. That's why I'm worried about them. That's exactly my point. If it's the playoffs, I don't really care who you're playing, just win. Don't, if you should win. That's the, it's kind of like the Tampa thing. They let them win one game, but they didn't break or bend too much to the Devils. They took care of what they needed to do. Preds sure didn't.
Let's go to the Tampa series then. Tampa moving on against Jersey, 5 games. And it was the least impressive 5-game series win that I've possibly seen. I was not at all impressed by what Tampa was able to do. You seem more impressed.
I'm not impressed. They took care of business. They did what they needed to do. I don't know. I think the Devils were probably the team I would have, if you were here's the 16 teams in the playoffs, which team do you want to play the most? Which team do you want your team to play? The Devils. That's who I would choose.
Yeah.
And so they took care of business. I'm not I don't think the Devils will have, or the Lightning will have as big of an issue getting up for a game versus Boston. That's not going to be a problem.
I see what you did there.
As much as I would like to think Toronto's going to push this to 7 and then win, I don't think it's happening. So,
well, we will get there. The only thing that I found interesting, not the only thing. So Nikita Kucherov, big series for Tampa, right? He did himself very well, but also borderline should have been suspended. What did you think for his hit on Vatanen? Suspension?
I don't care. I'm tired of this debate. It's stupid.
You're just done with suspensions?
Aren't you?
Yeah.
I saw Brad Marchand drive Mitch Marner's head into the ice intentionally and not even a hearing.
Yeah. Did he even get a penalty on that play?
Nope.
Okay. So,
and the ref was looking at it. It wasn't like the ref wasn't watching. So I don't care what literally do whatever you want. Kucherov, don't do whatever you want. I don't know who's on the 4th line on the Lightning. Whoever's on your 4th line Lightning, do whatever you want. Nobody cares. You might get suspended. You probably won't. Congrats.
You might get a penalty. You might not. You probably won't.
Injure somebody. This is the problem with this whole thing is that you're now going to get guys if I know that this is super sketchy to do, but I would totally do this as an owner and as a GM trying to win a Stanley Cup. The beginning in this offseason, I'm going to go and get 3 or 4 guys that are fast headhunters. When I want an injured guy, when I want to annoy a team, put them on the ice, know that they're going to get suspended, whatever. Why not? It doesn't really hurt you. Nobody's calling it.
And even if they do, you lose a 4th liner, right? You lose a guy who that's his role. And it honestly, it seems bad, and I don't want someone to get hurt. But if you're trying to win, that's the way you do it.
This is a terrible thing. You are a terrible person if this is the perspective you take. So I fully acknowledge that. I'm not saying this is a good thing and it makes you a good person. But I'm saying nobody cares. Like, it is so hit or miss. It is incredibly annoying to watch Doughty and Kadri get suspended for hits, and then watch guys do just as equally dumb stuff and not even get a penalty.
Yeah, it's unreal.
It's so inconsistent. It makes me not want to watch hockey. It makes so I don't know if Kucherov, I literally have no idea whether Kucherov should have got suspended or not.
And I think that's it. Like, there's what I would want, and what I would want never lines up with what actually happens for anything. And I'm with you. It becomes very difficult to understand, cheer, support, to a degree defend. Like, I find myself wanting to defend what I'm seeing. Like, the whole, like, please like my sport thing, where you're like, this isn't that bad. The officiating is a joke, but it's a joke in all sports, right? Like, the NFL doesn't know what a catch is. The NHL doesn't know what any penalty is. The only thing that's helping, and like the NBA has their times where you don't know what should or shouldn't be called. It's that this is what sports is. And I think at this point in time, I'm coming to terms with the realization that that's what's going to happen. That's what it is. And there's literally nothing that will ever change it, because we're not going to have robots calling penalties. We're not going to have any of that. The closest we can get is like offside called.
They can't even get that right.
Well, no, I know. That's what I mean. Like, but the closest we could ever get is to just have like sensors put in skates and pucks and wherever, and then that's how you figure out if something's offside. But like a penalty, that's always going to be a judgment call, and that's always going to be something that is terrible.
But it's not. I get that it's always going to be somewhat subjective, but it's not even. Like, it's not even close to being objective. It's not even like, we're trying our best to call games as consistently as possible. It actually feels like they're not even trying. So, I don't know. It just doesn't make any sense. I'm interested to see what happens. The officials, like, this is where we're at. I'm actually getting alerts on Twitter from guys saying these are the officials for the game tonight, because that's where we're got. I don't know. I never get officials, like, who's the refs and whatnot, but like I got some guy wrote an article about, I forget who it was, who wrote an article. These are the officials in the Leafs Bruins game tonight. Neither of these guys have reffed a Bruins or Leafs games in the playoffs or in the last like however many months or something like that. I was like, this is what we've come to.
That this is relevant.
That this is actually something that I feel like is going to make a difference in my game, is because I don't know, it's stupid.
Yeah,
so annoyed by it.
Yeah, I guess that going on to penalties, the end of the Flyers-Pens series ended with a slew of penalties, a slew of uncalled. I think the one that stands out the most was the Letang trip leading on Couture, leading to the game-winning goal. But that was a series that, no matter what, even if the officiating had been called a little bit closer, that was a series where the Pens were the better team most of the time. Obviously, the
really, I don't know.
The Flyers won 2 of those games, but like
12 goals,
right? So yeah, in 2 of the games when you let in 7 goals in game 1 and 8 goals in game 6, I don't think you can blame the officials too much on that. That seems like a little bit of just be better.
Yeah, I don't know if there's much to say about this series. It just is. We knew the Penguins were going to win. I did not think they would score this many goals. I did not think they would let in so many goals. I don't know what to make of this team other than I don't want to ever see them in the playoffs. No team wants to play the Penguins.
Yeah, I think that's a good takeaway for sure. So let's say, tonight, going into Game 6, you have the Jackets trying to make a comeback against the Caps. which will probably end up with Caps, Pens again. And I think, like, to me, the Pens would still be the favorites going into that because they've done it so many times. The Caps have, if any, even if the Caps win in 6, they looked much less dominant with so many of these games going to overtime than the Pens did. I would 100% be putting my money on Pittsburgh in that series.
I guess, but that would be 4 straight. Like, so if Washington wins tonight, that's 4 straight. That's impressive. Like, they go down 0-2 and then win the next 4. I think I would feel like, as far as like momentum wise, the Caps will be coming in with more momentum than the Penguins will be. Because like the Penguins kind of like, it didn't matter. They could have won 4 straight. They could have swept, and it's like whatever. It's the Flyers. Nobody really cares. It's kind of like, it's almost like they had a bye. And so this is apparently the fourth line's take on the East is, there's some teams that just are awful.
You had to play them. Like but man.
So, but like, I always think there's more to it. Just like Tampa with Boston, that series is gonna you like Boston because they played a better team. They didn't play New Jersey. I got some love for if the Capitals take care of business tonight. They move on. I think they have got a little bit of grit to them. They got a little bit of momentum that they can carry on. They played a better team than the Flyers. I think. I don't know. I guess technically, like standings wise, it wasn't. But
I think they had a harder time against, like, their opponent put up a better fight for sure. The Jackets versus the Flyers.
And so I think that's the thing. I don't who knows what's going to happen? Like, do you want to move to the West now, or are we done there?
I think, I think we're done with both. The only series left to talk about that we haven't touched on is yours. We'll save that for the end. Let's talk some firings, hirings.
We didn't talk at all Sharks to Vegas. Like, what do you think's going to happen there?
Maybe we talked that last week. Let's touch on that a bit. I remembered us doing that last week. Maybe we didn't. Maybe I had a dream.
There's no way, because I don't think it was over last week.
Well, there you go. Sharks, Vegas, I think...
Wednesday was the last game for the Sharks, so
no.
Yeah.
Sharks, I think, are going to be the ones that... they're the ones that I would have as the favorite going into this series. Both of them, like, everyone always wants to talk about are you too rested? Do you have rest? I like that it doesn't matter at all in this series. They both swept. They're both coming in rested and also too rested. So, that doesn't matter. We can put that garbage storyline aside. I look at this and I see, Vegas did well against Sharks in the offseason, but, Vegas's big trade deadline addition is benched in Tatar. Evander Kane is lighting it up. To me, that's going to be a big difference. I still don't think, Joe Thornton is showing up at practices and skates. I don't think he plays. So that's a piece that the Sharks won't have. But in general,
he's already been ruled out for game 1.
Yeah. So and they've been trotting him out for skates. I don't expect him to play, no matter how deep the Sharks go. I don't expect him to play. I think the Sharks are riding a wave higher than what the Knights are riding. And if you're talking waves, Sharks are obviously better than a Knight.
I want to say the Sharks are, but at this point, I don't think I can go against the Knights until they lose. Like, I don't understand them. I don't think they're good, but they keep winning, and I just assume that they're going to win everything now. Like, who's going to beat them? Who's going to beat
the Sharks?
Maybe
the Sharks are going to beat them.
They haven't all year. Well, I don't know about that. I'm just assuming.
No, Vegas did do better against the Sharks than the Sharks did against. Yeah, than the Sharks did against the Knights. Obviously, Vegas, I believe, was 3-0-1 in their matchups this year.
There you go. See, everything says Vegas. I want the Sharks to win because I don't want Vegas to, because it's just starting to annoy me now. Because it's just
support.
So now, just like, let's just do it. Let's go.
I think like the 2 goals that San Jose gave up in the first round, Vegas giving up 1 goal. We're not going to see that in this round. These are 2 teams that can score, unlike the Kings and the Ducks. So it's going to be a very different series than either of them played round 1.
Oh, yeah, and both of them are playing much better teams than they played in round 1.
Yeah, I still think that the Sharks' top firepower is better than the Knights, and I have a bit of the I don't understand the Knights, but they keep doing it, so I'm just gonna go with it. I get that, but I like what the Sharks are doing right now. I like how Martin Jones is playing in net. Marc-Andre Fleury, also, fan of him, but I'm going Sharks.
What do you think? I'm trying to do this as quick as I can. There's got to be a line out for this series, so I'm trying to find it.
Yeah.
What do you think? Who do you think's favored?
I think Vegas would be favored, mostly because maybe not like actual favored, but because most of that money's coming from Vegas, and you assume there's going to be some home bias there. I would assume that they've leaned that way as well. They probably want to get all the money back that they lost on Vegas already this season.
Vegas is favored. I don't actually have this series, but I have Western Conference winners favored, numbers. And Vegas is favored over the Jets and the Sharks. And
so just the Preds are better.
Just the Preds.
Better odds.
And I wonder, are they favored over the Jets because everyone is because if they're favoring the Preds to win the West, then they can't. Then the Knights have to be favored over the Jets, I guess.
Yeah, I would assume so.
In that kind of regard,
I think that there's no. I don't know if they have a line on that, for that, because I think until they put out a schedule, you won't be able to bet on the actual series. I think
that's fair. Leafs definitely not favored to win tonight at home.
Leafs have the second lowest odds to win the Stanley Cup, which is fair. They have to win 2 games.
Oh, that makes sense. It's,
for sure.
They're on Bodog. Leafs and Jackets are at the same prior to the game for the East Finals.
Oh, see, Leafs are 33-1 to win the Cup. Jackets are 50-1 to win the Cup. So that tells you a little bit.
Jackets are out. Bodog has Jackets winning tonight. They're favored. Really? Yeah.
Ooh.
So
I would disagree.
I would also disagree. Is that in Washington? I didn't see.
No, that's in Columbus.
It'd be in Columbus. It'd be. Yeah. I don't know. Can we just talk about the playoffs in general?
Yep.
Overtimes.
There's none of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little disappointing. I love overtime.
We haven't even had I believe we have not seen a double overtime game.
Jackets Caps game 4, I believe.
Did they go okay?
Double. And one of the Kings Knights games went to double as well.
But those games are way too late.
I went to sleep in the middle of the second. It was 12:30 at night my time. So no one on the East Coast was still watching it.
You're right. That did go. So yeah, there was a double. That's why I was just that's why I didn't acknowledge that one, because first off, I didn't watch any of that series. Second off, that is way too late for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other, and you're right. There was. I just feel like there's not much overtime. None of the Leafs Boston have gone to overtime. But I don't know. It just feels like.
Do you think that's a thing, or just the luck of how it is?
Probably just the luck. It just feels weird.
It feels a little, in general, a little anticlimactic. Do you think?
Yeah, I don't know.
It's just meh. The game's end, and you're yeah, that's there's not much last second heroics. The fact that the Avs managed to score late against the Preds was shocking, because I just most teams go down into shutdown and they don't get scored on, right?
Yeah, and like I don't know, like you have the Philly-Pittsburgh series where just like all the goals are being scored all the time, but like none of those games were ever in doubt for the winner of whoever won that game. Like, I don't think any game was really close. Maybe one was close.
Well, like the lead changed at least twice in last night's game, which is weird in an 8-5 game, because there was a time I believe it was 4-3 Flyers at one point.
Well, that's sad for them.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it was 4-2 Flyers, and then they lost.
That's even worse.
Getting outscored 6-1 at the end. Yeah, not good. But I agree. There hasn't been a lot close, which is, I think we're gonna get some closer series in this round. But that's going back to even the old format. The first round would be even worse for that, right? Because you'd have a 1 versus 8, and now you have like some actual close first round matchups. I think this is what the first round of the playoffs is a lot of games that aren't close. Then you get to the second round and you start having some closer matchups.
Yeah, hopefully we see a little bit more of that. I don't know. There's just nothing, not a whole lot of excitement, I feel like, but maybe it's partly because these matchups have just been so one-sided. So hopefully we get some close games here. I'm looking, like, I think Preds and Jets should be a fun series.
I think both of the West series. I think Vegas Sharks will be a fun one if you want to stay up late and watch hockey. Preds Jets will be competitive.
Hopefully, as long as the Preds show up. I'm still not convinced of that. I'm still not convinced they're going to show up for that series.
I think, yeah, I think they will. But then it comes down to, like we talked about last week, and the officiating thing. If you start taking penalties, or the Leafs Boston game, what was that, game 5? If you take penalties, you'll let the other team back in a game. So that would, I think, be the only reason that I could see any of these kind of getting out of hand, is if a team gets sloppy. Someone got fired today.
Did they?
Chuck Fletcher, general manager of the Minnesota Wild, led his team to a non-wild card berth in the playoffs, and then was let go. A little disappointed, sick of the losing there in Minnesota, or I guess not losing, but not winning.
Right, which is, I guess, understandable. Is there any relation to, is it Cliff Fletcher? Who's the Leafs guy?
Yeah, Cliff Fletcher is the father of Chuck Fletcher.
Okay, so there is relation here. Interesting. Yeah. You think it's going to make that big of a? I don't know. It's going to make that big of a difference. They have so much money tied up in players there.
What are you going to be able to change, right? Like, there's nothing that you're going to change if you get rid of him. You've got so much money stuck into so many people. Literally, the only thing, what are you going to do? Come in and fire Bruce Boudreau? That's not going to fix anything for you. He is not he might not be the greatest coach, but he's not the problem with this team. You're not going to go in and find someone better than him.
So they're going to need to sign some guys, and they only have $7 million left. They don't have I guess they might have a backup. Matt Dumba is an RFA. Ryan Murphy, Nick Seeler, these are their RFAs. Jason Zucker. So it's Zucker and Dumba are going to get a raise, and then that's really all that you can do. There's nothing else that you can do. Stalock will back up Dubnyk. Unless you can make a trade, you're kind of stuck with this. So whoever comes in as the GM, good luck. What are you going to do? It's not a whole lot you can do.
No.
The Zach Parise thing, just they have to just hope he can bounce back healthy. That's really what it comes down to. And
there's not, we've seen it enough that I don't have that much hope for that. So
I like Zach Parise for some reason.
You do?
He's one of those guys that I'm just yeah, I like him.
Yeah, I liked him more before he went to Minnesota, and was when he was on the Devils, big fan. But it hurts when you have your two best players hurt for the playoffs, right? Like the two guys that you put all your money into, you sign them to the very last illegal contracts in the NHL, and you've got both of them gone going into the playoffs. I knew that they were like one of those, the last backloaded super long contracts. Both of these guys, their last 2 seasons, making $1 million.
Yeah, I did not realize this, but I don't know when. Did you know that Mikko Koivu signed an extension in September?
Yeah, for like a decrease in pay, but to pay Mikko 37-year-old Mikko Koivu $5.5.
Yeah, although I guess he had 60 points this year. I don't know.
Yeah,
like it just doesn't feel like that was a smart idea.
Yeah, well, especially now that you look at it, when you're like, we want to go in a different direction, but we can't.
we want a different GM because then we don't have to sign guys like. Is Nino Niederreiter really that like worth $5.25 or whatever he is?
Probably not that much, but not that far off. I don't know.
This is a weird team. This is such a weird team.
It's a weird makeup
on this team.
Yeah,
Tyler Ennis is. This is a weird team. I didn't watch any Wild games.
I watched a couple. Jim Peters. Yeah, Jim Peters. I don't know why I struggle with that. Was hired as the Calgary Bill Peters. That's why I struggle, because it's not like, Jim.
Okay, I thought you were talking about someone else that I didn't necessarily know about.
Bill Peters, that's the guy. He was brought in as the Flames coach. We talked about that as a potential last week, and they said all the right things. But this is a whatever signing for them. Bill Peters did well with Carolina, but never got them to the playoffs. And if you look at this roster, like the Hurricanes roster should have made it, and they didn't. The Flames roster was worse than the Hurricanes and barely made it. I don't see what the Flames think they're going to get. This seems like a move just to sign someone for Treliving.
Yeah, I don't know. I was listening to Calgary Sports Talk Radio on my way to work this morning.
Ooh.
There was Fire Bill Peters tweets already, or text messages.
Yeah. So that'll be fun for the Flames. I don't see that going super well for them.
This is the worst thing. It's Brad Treliving. How do you say that guy's name?
Treliving?
Treliving, whatever. Who cares? That guy. The Flames GM. He was talking, so I was listening to an interview from him afterwards, and the one guy was like, so like, what's the differences from Bill Peters from Gullivson? Like, can't you just like, what happened to just like names that I can pronounce?
Well, Bill Peters, if you don't call him Jim, is very easy to pronounce.
Is it that I call him Bill, or did I call him Jim?
No, I don't know. That was all
okay.
Me. I don't know who Jim Peters. It's all effort to figure that out.
He's like, what's the difference between old coach and new coach? Well, there's not going to be a huge change in like philosophy, and like it's going to be like small changes and small tweaks here. And I'm like, why did you fire him then?
Why bring in someone essentially the same?
Yeah, that was the thing. He's like, not going to be an overhaul. I was like, didn't you need an overhaul? Isn't that the point of a new coach?
It seems like the point of a new coach.
I think someone should pay me to run an NHL team, because I feel like I'm smarter than some of these GMs.
Yeah. I would say that, especially in answering the questions, you could at least lie better than they are.
Could I be like the media spokesman? Like, so like the GM doesn't actually do any like calls or anything like that. I just like speak for him. And it's just like, so why did you guys hire this guy? Well, he is going to bring a much different perspective. Who cares if no one knows? The average fan doesn't know if it looks different or not. They're just like, oh, it's a new coach. They're like playing better. Awesome. It's like that's all I would do is just be like, yeah, hey, let's. He's going to be way better. He's going to bring enthusiasm, life. He's going to bring a new system. We're excited about the guys listening to him and growing and developing as a team under him. Isn't that a better answer than it might be different?
That's 100%. Yeah, that's more of what Bill said. He said the majority of the core is still in their prime, still has room to grow, and a higher ceiling to reach. It's an exciting group, which is not true, but he did say it.
It's not completely false. They don't have they do have some potentially good young players.
I would say that it is true that the majority of their core is still in their prime, and if you're in your prime, you also don't have room to grow, though. Like if you're in your prime, that's usually that's peak. That's where you're at.
Yeah.
Can't be both, Jim.
Playoff team next year? Yes, no. I think we already talked about this. We probably said yes. I don't know what we said.
If I said yes, I'm changing it to a no. I don't think they're a playoff team next year.
I don't know. I think they could be just because of the decline of LA and Anaheim just seems to continue. So, these guys aren't quite in their prime. Monahan and Tkachuk are...
Yeah, Tkachuk still has some room to go, but I look at the defense on this team, they're all in or past their prime, right?
Right.
That's what everyone gets all excited about with this team is how good their defense is. Well, that ship has sailed. You've got most certainly Mike Smith is past his prime.
Right. There are rumors that they're willing to shop Hamilton again.
It's a terrible idea. I saw quotes today that he was saying Bill Peters said that Giordano and Dougie Hamilton were elite. So he's excited.
But he's lying about at least one of those comments.
Yeah, I think maybe he meant together, which is still not true.
Well, maybe. Is Dougie Hamilton good enough to make Giordano elite?
To pull him up? I don't think that's true. Yeah, lots of award nominations kept coming out this week. Do you want to save that for next week, or do you want to touch on some Calder and Norris?
How much time do we got left?
We're at about 40 minutes right now. We still have to talk about we've put off your Leafs game that's about to happen until now. So how much time do you want to talk about your Leafs?
I don't know. I don't really have much to say about it. Other than I assume they lose tonight. And I don't know, it's just such a, this thing. So, and I'm at, I don't know if people outside of Canada will know, but there was a big tragedy in Toronto today where a guy drove a van intentionally I think 9 people died at least so far as the last I heard, and over 15 injured. And so I just don't know how that plays into a situation like this, because this it literally happened hours ago. And I was actually interested to see if they would cancel the game. I don't know, because it's just such a weird thing, and so I don't know how that plays into it. If it does at all, it has to, at least the people in Toronto.
It certainly leaves a weird feeling going into that game, right? As the biggest event happening, we saw a lot of amped up security around that game tonight, with all the folks out in the square watching the game, everyone going inside. It seems like the game started, so
the game started. So they never once said that they weren't going to, and so but it's just this weird scenario, and I don't know. I obviously want them to win. I don't think they're going to. I don't think they're even if they win tonight, I don't think they're going to win Game 7. It's just Boston's just been. I think they've looked when I feel like they want to, they looked like the most impressive team. That top line is so good.
I think that is true. that Boston has looked best at their best than Toronto has at their best. Because even Toronto at their best, like I would say Toronto's best was possibly the first two periods of Game 5. But then they played that third period where they let Boston back in it. So I would lean towards that not being a good game. If Toronto plays that first period that they played, the first two periods that they played on Saturday night, tonight they win hands down. It's not even close, but
it's So I don't know. I'm guessing you're assuming Boston wins this series, right?
I don't want them to, most certainly. I think it goes 7, and I think Boston probably wins it. I don't like it though.
So do you like? So if Toronto loses tonight, we're a week away or so from another episode. Because I actually realized this is the last time we're changing our schedule for the next few weeks. Because we can't record Monday nights anymore. But so next week, like, what does Toronto need to do in the offseason? Let's say they lose tonight, like I expect them to.
Okay, Toronto loses this offseason or this tonight.
Wow, they're losing this offseason too.
If Toronto loses,
wow.
Yeah. If October 1st rolls around and we're handing out offseason grades, Toronto gets a big F already. No, what Toronto needs to do is they need to add some defense. Because there's not a lot of flexibility with this team. You're losing JVR, but you have to sign Nylander.
And Bozak. Like, we're losing Bozak and JVR.
Right. Bozak and JVR are going. Uncle Leo and Mechanic, not as big of deals. You have to sign Nylander, which means you have to decide who's going to play center, right? Because if you're losing Bozak, that leaves you with, as it stands, Matthews and Kadri. Are you moving Nylander to center? Are you leaving him on the wing? Are you bringing someone else in? Can you afford to? Because their biggest need is defense, right? You don't want... I think you can bring in one other piece. I would like it if you could try to move out 38-year-old, $3 million Ron Hainsey. Don't bring back Roman Polak. So like you've got, your defense is fairly set. This season will be a win for the Maple Leafs if they can sort out a way to get, if you can sign all three of the young guys, Matthews, Marner, and Nylander, to reasonable deals this offseason, great. If you can only sign Nylander because you have to, and it's way more expensive, you're going to struggle. So I think that's what it hinges on, is seeing what you can do, trying to lock these guys up, sell them on the fact of the three of them staying together, a la the Miami Heat.
I do not think... I don't think Marner gets signed. I think, Nylander definitely does, and I think Matthews gets his deal, just like McDavid did the year out, right? So because McDavid got the contract with 1 year remaining on the entry level, and I think Matthews will do that. They actually do have quite a bit of cap space to make some moves. They're not, because of how much money's moving out, they have quite a bit of cap space. So they could potentially, especially for next year. So like Nylander's going to take about, probably more than what Bozak's making. But just because of all the contracts coming off, I think they could potentially bring in a center. Like, they do need to make the decision on Nylander. Is he a center? Is he not? And if he's not, you need to sign a center. Like, you have to. I'm very happy with Kadri and Matthews as my top two centers, though. There's nothing wrong with that.
And if you move Nylander to center, then you really only have to, on the forward core, you only have to bring in a fourth line, really. Like, what you already have can be your top three lines, right? You can still roll out, whichever version you want. If you want to roll out Matthews, Hyman, Brown, is that a potential first line?
No, that is not it. At some point you have to Nylander and Matthews need to play together, or Marner and Matthews need to play together. You need a top line. I want a top line that scares people.
Yeah.
And then you got, your first line's Matthews, Marner. Your second line's Kadri, Marlowe, Brown. Your third line is, or second line is Nylander. I don't know. Like,
that's
Kapanen.
Kapanen, Johnson, and
Nylander. That would be a
Nylander.
fantastic line. Nylander, Kapanen, and Johnson. Just like all the speed and hands.
Yeah, that's your.
They score so many goals.
That's a line. Then Marlowe, Kadri, Levo, and then or Brown, and then
Brown with Marner and Matthews. Like, I'm not worried. Like, this is not a team. Like, you don't have to worry about goals for this team.
No,
they're gonna score.
And then sign what, $2 million each for a fourth line, if that. You've got Matt Martin playing on the fourth line, so you only have to bring in 2. You're set.
Yeah. So, and it's just, because like Dominic Moore's not coming back. Matt Martin will probably be traded if they can find someone to take him. And then you still have, I don't know, Joffrey Lupier's off the books. Tim Gleason and Jared Cowan are off the books.
Yeah.
So there's lots of money coming off of this team. And so I'm interested to see what they do. I think everything hinges on the Matthews contract. Can they get him? How much is he going to push to be close to McDavid, even though he's not as good as McDavid? Are they going to? Is he like? Can they get him down $2 million, $3 million for McDavid? It really hinges on that.
Yeah, I think certainly he won't net the same as McDavid, but I think you're looking at Jack Eichel got $10 million a season, right? So I think I think you use that as a baseline. He's better than Eichel, but he's worse than McDavid, who got 12.5 for Connor. So
my guess is 11. I'm hoping for 10.
Yeah, I think that's a reasonable thing, and sign that this year. It doesn't matter. Then you just have it done, right?
Yeah, and my guess is both sides want to get it done. Like, both sides would want, because they both know that it's going to be in that. You're not getting more than McDavid. There's no question. You're not getting more than 12. So, and you're not making less than 10. So, figure it out. It's not that difficult. Sign it. Like,
it's not.
But it'll be interesting. Are you Boston, Tampa? Which series are you more excited about? Boston, Tampa, Washington, or like Winnipeg?
I honestly think that Tampa, Boston, or Tampa, Toronto is the one I would be the least excited about. Which is to say that of how I'm genuinely like every single matchup of this second round. There is not one I am a much bigger fan of this Sharks Knights matchup than you are. I always can get excited for Washington, Pittsburgh, and then Winnipeg, Nashville is going to be big. So, there is going to be a great second round. It'll probably looks like it's probably going to get started on Thursday. For sure by Friday it'll be started up. So when we are back next week,
the West can probably start Wednesday. If any of these games go to 7, you can't start the East until Thursday. Till
Friday.
Till Friday.
You're not going to give them back to back. Yeah. So
yeah.
If one of these goes 7, that'll happen. I don't think the NHL would bother to start the East or the West while the East is still going, just because it'll be awkwardly spread out.
I meant Thursday, not Wednesday.
So I assume that the West is going to start Thursday. East starts Friday, which means this time next week they'll each have. By the time we're back, they'll probably each have 2 games in them. As Joel mentioned, we'll see. Next week we might be doing a game on Monday, depending on weather. We've got a slow pitch team.
We do, so it's weather dependent. I'm expecting to play Monday.
I am not.
It's going to be so nice this week. We're going to play.
Okay,
we're going to do it.
So the 22 degrees tomorrow. I hope that nets us some baseball.
But yeah, so our schedule might change a little bit, but we'll let people know.
Yeah. Obviously we're still here. We're still going to be going throughout the playoffs. Let's hope that Joel's Leafs win tonight. That's what we all want to have happen. We've had some concerns from Joel Definitely going to stand alongside him tonight as the Leafs try to win. Alberta Podcast Network, lots of things going on over there. As always, albertapodcastnetwork.com/events. I can let you know about some of these things. One of them, Joel, May 26th, the Edmonton International Cat Festival. I don't like cats, but a lot of people do. And Linda Huang, co-host of Don't Call Me a Guru, organizes an annual event to celebrate all things feline and raise money and awareness for cat rescue organizations. So while I don't like cats, cat rescues and animal rescue is a great thing to support. So if you're in Edmonton, May 26th, tickets are only $15 and go to a great cause. So head over to there and lots of other events at albertapodcastnetwork.com/events.
All right.
Well, you can find us at thefourthlinepodcast.com. You can find us on
quickly
Twitter.
Talk about high sticking?
Yeah.
Just let people know what we're doing?
Sure. I was just about to. So yes, I do want to.
I thought you were signing us off.
I was going to make it as part of it, which is fine.
Oh, okay. No, do it. Let's go. Take 2 without editing.
High sticking, you can play it on Twitter at Fourth Line Podcast. We have had a plethora of points handed out. 395 high sticking points have been handed out yet in the first round of the playoffs. Leader in the clubhouse is Ken Kallenbach. He's got 37. Matt from Reasons Are coming in second with 32, and just a whole collection. The fourthlinepodcast.com/high sticking has all that you need. You can find the standings over there. The way it works is you pick one player from each team for every single game of the playoffs who you think is going to score the game-winning goal. If you pick the goal scorer, you get 3 points. First assist is 2. Second assist is 1 point. Let us know on Twitter if you want to email it to us and just pick the same players for every game. We'll put it in the old spreadsheet and you get your points that way. You can
only need one to win.
Yeah, you only need 1 point. All the names go in a basket. So we're going to be doing a lot of writing. Prepare yourself, Joel. Limber up your wrist. We're going to write out all 395 and counting names, put them in a hat, draw a name next week on the show for the next winner of high sticking.
Oh yeah, so we're going to have so it'll end before round 2 and start. So like we end on Wednesday, start on Thursday, a new round.
Yeah, brand new, fresh slate. So if this goes to 7 games, obviously both of these games have started at this point or about to. So if it goes to 7 games, you can get in. You can get 1 point for the second assist, and that could be the 1 point you need to win it. So anyone has a chance to win. Play in round 2. If you're like, oh, I didn't want to play without a fresh slate, well, fine. Play now. It'll be a lot of fun. Lots of folks getting in. Like I said, almost 400 points. That's a lot. Facebook.com/The Fourth Line Podcast. I've been doing some Instagram stories.
There you go. Check us out.
Instagram is Fourth Line Podcast, the same as on here. So head over there. See, maybe I'll make one during this game tonight. Once we're done this show. So until next week, hopefully Joel and his Leafs come out winners tonight.
And Wednesday then.
And Wednesday.
Boom City.